Hello and welcome to this another episode on American Education and Policy. This is Dr. Leah Lester here, and I am just so delighted to have you back with me to discuss these educational topics. If this is your first time, I'm so glad you came, taking the time out of your busy day, but I'm excited about our discussion. Today, we're going to talk about a strategic role for American educators in the midst of educational disorder. Well, let's begin our discussion today. Regardless of the deliberate attacks and extractions to American education, educators must hold the best practices and principles of instructional pedagogy, and educators must continue to develop various means of professional development. We must recognize that the assault that we are experiencing is an effort to devalue education. Therefore, a strategic role for education and for educators in America in the midst of disorder will be our discussion today. Without education, our children would not be able to take a position in this global economy. Strategies for accessing information continue to grow, including artificial intelligences and social media, digital websites, databases, and libraries for research, and more. During this current information generation we live, a widespread amount of information is available due to technology. Therefore, our students must be taught how to access information for problem solving and learn how to develop and create information for dissemination. How can they learn without a teacher, a committed teacher? The teacher that is committed must also be one to uphold virtue. And so I'm going to talk about some of those virtues today. And so I want you to take notes if you have to, but mental notes, so you remember that this is a battle. Now, one of the things a teacher or an educator must do is persist to uphold standards regardless of the attacks. Remember that standards help to guarantee that all American children are experiencing equity in education across the nation, whether in rural, suburban, or urban areas. All American education must be elevated to a specific standard to ensure needed content is taught. Although one might not expect that knowledge is deliberately withheld from a certain group of people because of bias, intolerance, or partialities, however, we must remain vigilant as the current state of our nation signifies the possibilities of this occurring, while weaponizing education and preserving privileged education for the elite. So, standards insist that the same equitable learning experiences for all populations must occur. No matter how bizarre weaponizing education sounds, we do know that this occurs in our nation. However, educators must uphold standards and not deny anyone the right to learn or to enjoy equitable learning experiences. We must ensure that everyone is able to stay informed, stay current, and up to date with this information era and not risk being left out of the economy, which is no longer based on industrial production, but rather the dissemination of information. To eliminate needed programs that without information is a biased effort, and leads to unfair practices. Remember, the Declaration of Independence says that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Students have a right to learn what is necessary for them to thrive in this world. No one has the right to take education away from our students. Therefore, we as educators must uphold the standards for our students to ensure equity across the board. Have the tools, technology, and network communication and connections they need to access the internet for accessing information. And secondly, I believe that a very important virtue that educators must be willing to uphold if they will be committed is to uphold what we know about teaching and learning. Over the years, we have established best practices for learning, including differentiating instruction, where content is adjusted to ensure that all learning styles in our classroom are accessible, accessing the information being taught. Cooperative learning for providing small group instruction, promoting collaboration and equity. Strategies like inquiry-based instruction for promoting curiosity and promoting problem solving. We use technology for researching and providing digital resources and tools to enhance learning. We're so fortunate in our classrooms to have big smart boards and accessing the information on the internet and other tools that we have. Learning skills that need to be taught to every student include collaboration and critical thinking, creativity, problem-solving skills, decision-making, writing, and communication. All of these are significant and remain prioritized in American classrooms, as these skills are needed for the 21st century era of information. Educators must uphold what they know to teach for needed learning outcomes and not stop because someone devalues education. Striving to allow students to reach their full potential must be our goal, providing truth and not fallacy and authentic learning experience so students can know they have to exert skill and energy, preparing them to thrive in a possible hostile environment. Because we teach the whole child, we must also remember to provide our students with social emotional learning, SEL, known as SEL, as well, so they will self-assess, be prepared when they are faced with emotional stresses or encounters that may trigger an anger or difficulty. Then another virtue that I believe is necessary if we would be a committed educator in this very disorderly American education period in which we are currently facing. We must uphold justice. America takes pride in being a nation who values ethical behaviors from our leaders, including teachers, administrators, and policymakers. While equity is essential for teaching in American schools, we also know that the role of equity is for providing fairness apart from favoritism or bias. And in a situation where the need is great, equity may mean providing accommodation or even overriding laws that may lead to injustices. Equality is different and refers to students having the same value, or to treat students with the same respect and justice and equal status, regardless of their race, ethnicity, or gender. This is justice for all people, while justice for all seems apparent and straightforward for some. For others, showing justice for all is not viewed as realizable for all students simply because of bias toward a student. When justice is not upheld within a society or within schools, I believe that teachers or educators have the obligation to uphold justice as they work with students of all cultures, ethnicities, and influences. Whether we affirm their choices, like religious beliefs of the students, the role of justice and respect for our students must not be altered because of the differences of our students. As all Americans have freedoms, they should enjoy. And finally, this last virtue I want to discuss that I believe is so important to this time in which we live. It's a very serious virtue, and we have to work hard to hold fast to this virtue. And we must, as educators, uphold and guard the truth. Finally, educators must uphold the truth and guard the truth. Guard our history, guard the sciences, guard the facts. We must not purposefully lie by omission or commission to our students, no matter whether a population of our school prefers to omit the truth. We must uphold and guard the truth. When I was a child, I can remember truth was misrepresented, and by omission and commission. Some lies about history were told to children, only to find out years later that those were misrepresentations. Teachers taught the lies, while books told the stories, knowing they were lies. Depicting Native Americans as savages was wrong. Depicting Christopher Columbus as the one who discovered America was not true, as we all know that Native Americans already lived in America. Considering the shameful hours and years that were spent and permitted to be spent for lies to be taught to indoctrinate the students about American history is incomprehensible. However, the torch is now being passed to us, educators, to pass the torch to the next educator, to guard the truth and insist on the truth, insist on teaching only the truth to our students, regardless of those who devalue the truth and education. My summary, in other words, regardless of the disorder of the current American education and policy, educators must and do have obligation to uphold the standards. Yes, educators have obligation and must uphold what we know about teaching and learning. Yes, and they must uphold justice and uphold and guard the truth. Many will come and many will rule, while some will have good intentions and some may have evil intent. But their intent must not hold educators hostage to what we will teach. Everything we have worked for through science and research and ethical procedures and practices must continue. Remember that the many years of dedication to the future of our students and the future of education in America have already had favorable successes, fruitful outcomes, strategic planning with research-based practices for teaching and considerably accommodating the needs of every learner remains the strategic plan for educators. To teach every student with respect and justice, with care and fairness, with equity and equality, with integrity and professionalism, while applying truth must remain the process. And that's it. That's our strategic plan for educators. And I just thank you. I tell you, I'm overflowing with these ideas, and I could go on and on with it, but we have to stop. And again, I just want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing with me and allowing me to express to you the things that are on my heart as we are in a time of uncertainty. We are in a time where truth is trying to be taken from us. But we will endure, certainly we will endure this, and we will overcome all of this. Hold fast to our professions of our faith. Hold fast to what is good. Hold fast to those virtues that we know are right, and we will overcome someday. Thank you, and God bless all of you. Thank you for sharing with American Education and Policy. This is Leah Lester, and I appreciate you. Till we meet again.